Thank you very much. I know we're a little bit behind schedule, so I'll see what I can do to speed this up. FocusVision, how many people here know FocusVision? All right. We are qualitative streaming, not quantitative. And so we're started in 1990. We're now in 1,039 facilities around the world, and we're adding roughly between 4 and 6 facilities to our network every week. We're a member of Alphabet Soup, and so what I'm here to talk about is removing barriers to respondents. We're talking a lot in this conference about emerging markets, but it's really getting at that respondent. As you mentioned in the pack, how do I get access to that person that I want to gain access to? And so where we are at today, streaming is common. Everybody's on Netflix, Hulu. These are 2 examples in other areas where the NFL is actually now having a problem with selling tickets to football games because people are streaming them. They've got big screen TVs. So the experience of a football game in your home is now rivaling going to a football game. And so the NFL is trying to figure out what to do with that situation. Sony has seen their gaming streaming taking off, and so they've started making acquisitions to bolster their streaming network. And of course, the big news in streaming last month was Netflix. They streamed 1 billion hours in a month. So it is now common. With the infrastructure throughout the world, the prevalence of broadband access, be it through an internet cafe or a facility, it's really reliable, and there's now nowhere in the world that you can't conduct qualitative research. So we took a little breakout of our facilities, and the divergent point was in 2010. And at a few other conferences, there was a lot of talk about facilities closing and shutting down in different markets. And while, yes, we did see some facilities close due to several conditions, we also saw others reinvesting and expanding to adding test kitchens or usability labs. And so the net for the U.S. has been a slight uptick. But for outside the U.S., we are just seeing, secondary, tertiary markets are really adding facilities where you can access your respondents. So every year, FocusVision works with SMR and CASRO, and we work with our survey, our facility owners, and their surveys to look at how many focus groups are conducted in the United States every year. And so for 2011, the grand number was 253,000. I don't have our global data here because we still have some inconsistencies in the question. But for US, we have 253,000. These are in-facility researchers. So they could be IDIs or groups that we don't differentiate in the data. And then we added this year to the data the webcam. And that turned out to be the little x-axis. So when you zoom in and you look at the past 3 years of webcam, going back to 2009, it has just been exploding. We're getting more and more demand. Depending on the industry that you're in, pharma leading the way, leading the push on this, but we're seeing it in every sector that we work in, is the adoption of webcam research. And when you look at the prevalence of webcam and you think, okay, well, this is really where it's going, how many are you familiar with Dr. Everett's work on the law of diffusion of innovation? So back in the 60s, he came up with this great curve, and basically what you have is your innovators, your early adopters, your early majority, your late majority, and you move along this scale as innovation is adopted. The early adopters and the innovators, these are the people who stand online for 6 hours for an iPhone. These are the people who gave Google last month $1,500 for glasses that they're not going to get for about 9 months. And you go through to the laggards, and the laggards are the people who, if they had their choice, could still have a rotary telephone. So Dr. Everett's work has 5 factors that factor into your moving through adoption of any innovation through this curve. And of the factors, triability and observability seem to be very sticking points at about the 15 to 18% mark on the curve. So where are we on this curve? For webcam research, it'd be great if we're at this conference, we're all talking about mobile, we're talking about everybody streaming. So wouldn't it be great if we could just move that line down and say, we're probably at the early majority. I mean, everybody's got a webcam. Most computers now, you can't get one without one. But for research, we're still seeing it very early on. Right now, we're only seeing 3.6% of projects that are online versus in-person facility. And then when we look at the actual researchers, moderators, we're only seeing 6% of moderators that are conducting online webcam research. 94% have not done it anywhere that we or SMR can touch. So we're still very early on in this technology. And so this is the data for the moderators. And so this seems to be the tipping point. Dr. Moore did a book called Crossing the Chasm. And this is at the point when you get to about 15 to 18% adoption of an innovation where it really takes off. That's when the early majority will start adopting it and the late majority will come along. The catch with this point is that the early majority won't adopt a new technology till they see these two groups use it. That goes to the observability and the trialability. So they want to see somebody else conduct webcam research in Central Africa before they're going to do it. So this is, now the infrastructure's in place. Technology from FocusVision and other companies out there. We've built the platform. All the dominoes are ready. But it's for your researchers, you've got to now use that research to access these respondents. We've removed all the barriers that we can to touching those respondents, be they moms, physicians, executives. We can research at any time, anywhere. And so there are some researchers, some participants that historically couldn't get into facility research. And the online is perfect for it. We saw one project where they were trying to do interventional cardiologists. And you can field that, you can recruit that, you can go to major cities and try and get those people, but they're crazy to try and get into a facility during a midday. But at 10 p.m., from their office or from the hospital, they'll get on a webcam. And so you can research to those people at all hours, no matter where they are. And so the other shift that we're seeing is to secondary markets. Global's taking off. And webcam is on the rise, but even though it's on the rise, it's still a very small percent of the total research that we're seeing being done. So, all right, thank you.